Hi there, I'm Joan Mazat with Leaves and Leashes, and I want to do another fall container. And you know, the thing about fall is it's still really hot here in West Chicago, Illinois. And I must admit, I'm late starting, so the selection at the nursery wasn't exactly the best. But I was able to find some gems that I think will be just awesome and something that's very different indeed than most fall containers. So let's talk about woody plants. Woody plants normally are thought about as trees and shrubs that should be planted in the ground. But when you find them in their small form, it's absolutely fantastic to utilize them in containers to add texture and so something different that you will really not see normally. And the nice thing also about getting a super duper late start is I must admit the nursery had them on sale for 50% off. So how could I lose? I mean, I'm looking at this beautiful emerald arborvitae and he was really only $5.50. And when this container is done, I will most likely make a nice place in my garden and plant the whole container maybe and just let them grow on, let them overwinter, and maybe I'll find a better ideal spot for them in the springtime. But I hope to get some double duty out of these plants. But considering, again, the price was right, it really doesn't matter because I can use the woody plants just as well at the same price as a fall annual. So let's get to work. So again, I've used one of my little imitation whiskey barrels. It's a very lightweight plastic container, but it still looks very nice for a fall decor. Utilizing a very light potting soil. This one is the Miracle Grow Organic Choice. Nice and light, and it's just going to hold moisture, but not too much, and will be perfect for my potting adventure. So we're going to be placing this at the entrance of my garage. So this is going to be the back. So we're going to put the height element in the back. Sometimes finding height elements for fall is somewhat limited. If you can find some millets or some grass, that's fantastic. But in this case, like I said, I was fortunate enough to find these guys who needed a home who were left over from the spring at half price. And so I'm going to start off with this really beautiful emerald arborvitae. I utilize these in my backyard as a screen from my yard to the neighbors, which is fantastic. But in this case, he's going to be a beautiful little accent in my back of my container as my height element. I just think he's absolutely adorable, and I absolutely just love utilizing woody plants in containers. So mums, this one is the Rhonda White, a great mum. You know, the hardy mums, they call them, they really aren't hardy per se. They bloom for the fall. It's going to be some fall enjoyment. I expect to get great beauty out of these until around Halloween time. The one thing I'm looking for when I purchase the mums is a nice tight presentation so that I can get as much color and enjoyment in my home as possible. And as you notice, when I plant the plants, I'm not pressing them super duper hard, maybe looking for any leaves that might not be that attractive or may have passed their prime. I'll clean those off as I go. But again, setting that in nicely without pressing too hard because I'm going to allow my watering to press those plants in where they belong. So to add a little bit more color and texture, this is again the Swiss Chard Bright Lights. It's really interesting because of the colored stems. And I'm going to put that kind of in the middle. It's going to be a very opposite texture from the arborvitae with a more round foliage. I guess I don't like that leaf too much. It's kind of damaged. So I'm going to take that one off as well. And as these mature, it'll get some brighter colors, especially if the temperatures do indeed cool down. So let's get some more color into this container. This is the kale, the Glamour Red. Again, I'm going to look at that plant as I'm going, clean off any spent leaves, and maybe loosen that root system up just a bit. That is tightly wound. And when I'm planting my fall containers, I don't really expect a lot of supersized growth. Again, I must admit we didn't have a hard frost here last year until November. So I'm hoping to get some nice value out of this container. So I am going to loosen them up somewhat to grow. But as with my spring containers, they got a lot of growth and the fall containers normally don't. So I pack them pretty tight as far as spacing into the containers. So that beautiful kale is going to give me purple color. So I got a couple of smaller mums. This is just labeled purple, which will give me some nice offset of the color from the kale. Now I wanted to make this a distinctly different container, and again, like I said, I found these little friends at a nice reduced rate at the Home Depot this year at the garden center. And this is the really cool mugu pine. This can be utilized in many different ways. It's a great landscape plant. It's a shorter, shrubbier type of pine, more like the Japanese pine types. But in this case, I want to utilize it as a texture item, something kind of different in the container. And again, these would be hardy to my area, but I want to utilize this year as a texture and a woody feel to my container, as with this really cool juniper. This is the Blue Star, a very interesting silver, which will again complement my white in the back of the container as it goes. Now, like I said, I'm putting these in a little bit more snug than I would ever an annual container, because I don't have the life expectancy from May till August. And so I have a little bit more of a blank spot there. So I'm going to insert my purple mum. And she's not going to grow any height. It's just going to be a splash of purple flowers and will be absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to make sure I take my hands through, since I did put some bigger containers into my pot, and make sure the soil is nice and level. And I think we have a really cool fall looking container with a woodsy feel. And now, of course, as I mentioned, I don't really press my plants in too hard, but I am going to take my water wand. It's a nice Dram 400 breaker, and I'm going to use that wand and that water to go through and allow that water to settle in my pots. And normally speaking, I'll let that kind of soak down. I'll go through one more time, settle up all the air pockets, do some leveling within, and then again one more time. And there is my finished product all ready to go. I really plan on enjoying this container and hope to get some future life out of it as I transplant the trees into the ground. And I don't really think that took very much time at all. So look how easy it can be to make your home beautiful for fall.